Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and the secret finding Discord for World of Warcraft discovered how to obtain a slime serpent mount. The way you do it is by going to Plaguefall and finding the last two bosses solo, either on heroic difficulty or M0 difficulty. The mount's pretty cool, it has some nice stitchings on the side, and I feel like he fits any Necrolord player, particularly rogue Necrolord, since you look like a flesh-crafted abomination yourself with that full mog. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys my runs for killing the bosses and getting the kills, as well as some of the tips and tricks of how to do it yourselves if you decide to do this on a rogue. This fight I found to be quite challenging. Quite a lot of other players found it to be quite challenging, so hopefully this video and the tips in this video end up being helpful for many of you when it comes to you trying it for yourself as a rogue player. So let's get into the actual clips and then talk about the tips. Definitely an interesting fight, an interesting secret mount, and definitely a bit of a challenge, especially if you're going to be doing this rogue. So let's take a look at some of the tips that I can offer you when doing this fights. The first tip is don't do it as a rogue. If you can help it, don't do this as a rogue. This is really challenging. It definitely was for me, and I play a pretty geared rogue. I wanted to try to see if it's possible to do it on a rogue. I spent quite a considerable amount of hours into this just to kind of slam my head against the wall. If you can do this as a tank, it's much easier. Tanks don't even need a lot of gear in order to have a field trip with this fight, especially the first one, because you need to defeat the last two bosses of Plaguefall. Tanks are going to have much easier time, even as protection warriors, tanks that can't really even heal themselves. So really consider doing this as another character if you have any kind of alts. If for some reason you want to proceed doing this as a rogue, well, hopefully the tips I have in this video will make it easier for you. As a rogue, I found it easier to do this fight on subtlety, mostly because of one simple talent, Soothing Darkness. Soothing Darkness gives you healing every second while Shadow Dance is active, and that's the best heal you can have as a rogue. This first boss is very damage intensive, and surviving it is pretty hard. Doing it as sub, I just found it much easier. From there, we go into Weapon Master, Shadow Focus, Deepest Stratagem, Envelop in Shadows, as well as Master of Shadows. Those are talents you're going to need to do the most single target damage. Doing this boss, I had multiple close calls, so I decided to run General Draven because he has a bit of that finishing power at the end if you get the boss to like 2 or 1%. Surface and Stone makes it so you take less damage when you're below 40% health, but also if you die, and you'll most likely die a lot trying to do the first boss, you will leave a statue that after 3 seconds will explode, doing 100% of your maximum health in damage. The boss, if killed by the statue, will still count as your kill. So if you're getting the boss really close at the very end, and you just need a little bit extra and you are Ventier, I recommend doing Surface and Stone. As for my conduits on the screen, you see I ran Lash and Scars and Planned Execution for my potency, since those are the best for subtlety when it comes to doing single target damage, but also Recuperator and Nimble Fingers because that helps me with survivability. The next tip for the first boss, make sure you're flashed up. Make sure you visit your auction house and get those weapon oils. Make sure you have sharpened stones. Make sure you have drums, because you will want everything to take down the first boss. She is the biggest hurdle, much tougher than the second boss. If you can get past Domina, then you could probably do Margrave pretty easily. Definitely get yourself consumables before you attempt to do this as a rogue. Before you fight Domina Venomblade, make sure you clear out the boss arena. The boss will be fought next to the wall, but she also does summon adds. If those adds are next to any of the adds present inside of the arena before the boss starts, those will also aggro to you. You're already going to be taking a lot of damage with this fight. You don't want extra attention from more mobs. As for the boss herself, she has a couple of mechanics. The first scary one is Shadow Ambush. You will get marked and then stunned shortly. Use your Cloak of Shadows to continue pumping damage into the boss and avoid being stunned. Shortly afterwards, she'll call for Brood Assassins. Give it a second after she summons them, then use the ability of Vanish in order to despawn the adds. This way you bypass the two most important boss mechanics, but then from there it's a DPS race. You're trying to kill the boss before those mechanics come back up. The boss should be dead by the time the second set of adds comes out, or at least very close to death if you have her dotted up. Try not to use Crimson Vial during your dance windows, because during dance you're healing as is. So try to use Vial before the stun comes out, where you can't really control your self-healing, or whenever dance is down and you're backstabbing the enemy just to survive a hair longer. The second boss, Margrave, is 10 times easier. Just focus down the Margrave. I had a much easier time and only had one attempt at Margrave. Don't worry about the adds. I actually ignored the adds completely, just trying to DPS Margrave ASAP. She has phases where she goes down under into the slime at 60% and at 30%. You're basically trying to get her down into the slimes ASAP. You could fight her malignant spawn while the tentacle phase is happening, and as a rogue, you have enough mobility to never get hit by tentacles. So just don't stand in slime, don't stand in tentacles, and then dumpster Margrave as much as you can. Not super healing intensive for this part either, so if you got past the first boss, the second one should be a pretty easy one. And just like that, you have your slime boy. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and maybe find it somewhat entertaining. Hopefully you guys find this a little bit helpful if you are trying this as a rogue. Seriously, there's no shame in doing it as a tank if it's much easier. We're all just trying to get a mount anyway. But it was super enjoyable to do as a rogue. It reminded me of Legion Mage Tower experience from back in the day. Super fun trying to figure out how to overcome some of these bosses. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I do hope you guys enjoy it. I do hope you guys find it somewhat useful. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.